free world.
Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking and stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shooter, snuff the looter, snuff the booster, snuff the money mover. Snuff the hater, snuff the player, snuff your hairline, tape up and shape up.
Hail to the culture, a Washington Redskins podcast. Bryce and Rome, Rome and Bryce, however you like it sliced. We back at you. And Redskins Nation, we on a 3-game win streak. It doesn't feel real, does it? I don't know. Do I need to pinch myself? Rome, how you feel, man?
Man, I'm feeling great, man. Yesterday was my birthday. Washington beat the Giants, man. Everything is going great, man. We're in first place. I couldn't ask for much more.
Yo, hold on, wait. Your birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday, my brother. And so you turned 29 on the 29th?
Yeah, man, 29 on the 29th.
Hey, shout out to that. I turned 27 on the 27th in August, a couple months ago. So that's lit, man. That's lit.
Wow,
this
that's
is
what's up, bro.
Yeah, this is about to be a big year for you for sure, man. But let's jump in. Let's jump into these Redskins, man. Hopefully we got a big year coming for our Redskins. It looks like we just might, Rome. We just might. I remember last week on the last pod we did, you called this game a trap game. I called this game a turn the corner game, and it seems like if it was a trap game, we avoided the trap. If it was a turn the corner game, we might have turned the corner. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I would agree with you, man. We definitely turned the corner on this game, man. We needed to go up there and play well, and they played well, man. The offense, the passing game was still a little shaky, but Adrian Peterson, bro, like, he still got it, man, for sure. He's carrying our team on offense. He scored that first passing touchdown, his first passing touchdown in like 5 years or something. I think it was since 2013. And he broke that late run, man, that 64-yarder. That got me hyped for sure. And the defense, we're going to talk a lot about the defense today, man. This defense has been playing crazy. And they're led by one of my favorite players in the league right now, DJ Swearinger.
Yeah, man. Yeah, the defense is great. AP, let's start with some AP, man. So obviously when we first brought AP in, it was due to the multitude of injuries. Obviously Darius Geis went down. Bibbs was dealing with a little injury as well as P. Ryan. So we had to go out, on the scrap heap and find somebody. But one thing, Rome, I would say, man, and I don't like what I'm seeing with this. So I feel like Adrian Peterson is, how can I say this? All the analysts, all the national guys, they're billing this AP thing out to be almost like a unicorn type of thing. Like, how did this happen? They're not giving the Redskins any credit for finding him. Every time they mention AP, they're saying, this guy wasn't even playing football until 3 weeks before the season. And it's like, man, when are the Redskins going to get some credit for being the team to find this guy? And when are they going to stop talking about, hey, okay, we get it, AP's 33, but at the end of the day, man, you can't tell me he's not a top 5 back in this league right now. In my opinion, he is.
Oh, man, the Redskins deserve a ton of credit. I believe we were also looking at Jamal Charles, and what has he done in Jacksonville? Yeah, nothing, exactly. Meanwhile, Adrian Peterson has been lighting it up left and right. Chris Carter, I believe, of FS1, he said a little something about AP. I think he said he was wrong or something like that along those lines. But, yeah, man, there was a lot of national media hate in the beginning on Adrian Peterson saying that he was done. Last year was his last chance, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, obviously he's proven everybody wrong. He still wants to break Emmitt Smith's record. I mean, that might be a little far-fetched, but who are we or who is anyone to doubt Adrian Peterson at this point?
Yo, exactly, man. It sounded far-fetched as hell when he said it. But now, after, 7 games? It's looking like, hold on, AP. Maybe you're on to something, man. Maybe you're on to something. I think as an ode to AP, at the end of the season, I'm gonna get cut-ups of all the analysts saying he was done and how he's not gonna do anything this season. We shouldn't even turn the tires on him. Hey, I'm making an ode to AP. I'm getting all those videos, all those clips. I'm gonna put them in one montage as an ode to AP, just to show how he shut everybody up this season. So let's jump back to the defense, man, because obviously I think we'll probably get into the passing game a little bit later. But obviously the defense is what held us down, man. You brought up DJ Swearinger, man. Dude, he's at an all-pro level right now. What do you think?
Man, DJ Swearinger. So I wrote a little something a while ago before the season started about key players for the Redskins heading into this season. And for the defense, I said, and what I was prefacing by key players was, if this player plays bad, the team will play bad. If this player plays good, the team will play good. And I picked DJ Swearinger for my defensive key player, meaning that he's going to have to be the captain on and off the field. He's going to have to – his play on the field will rise everybody else's level, and how he carries himself off the field will also affect the players on the field. And DJ Swearinger, I think that was the perfect pick for that, because he has been lights out this season, and look where the defense is. Now, I know a lot will be said about Payne and Allard and everybody, and it should be, because they're what gets it all started. But you got to have something on the back end to solidify it all, to straighten it all up. And DJ Swearinger is that guy. He has 4 picks, the most he's had. First of all, he had 4 picks last season. That was a career high. He's already got 4 through 7 games this season. He's got a forced fumble, or 2 forced fumbles, a sack. Like, he's playing not just at an all-pro level, but he has career highs almost in everything that he's done so far, and it's only halfway through the season. DJ Swearinger is the best safety in football right now, and I don't think we can say enough about him.
Nah, we definitely can't, man. He's been lights out, and I think what's been most impressive about what DJ's been doing is it's been timely. I mean, all the plays he's making are impact plays at times when we need plays. I mean, think about the first interception he had. The Giants make it to the red zone. DJ lines up like he's in man, and then he's in zone, and he tricks Eli, gets the pick on Odell. Like, that's a big time play in the 10-yard line. And when you're playing the type of football we are, that we'll get into, that ball control football, old school style of football, I mean, you can't let teams score. You can't let teams score when they get to the red zone. You've got to stop them. And DJ with the impact plays, man. Shout out to DJ Swearinger. He's definitely been the leader that we've sorely missed. So speaking of that old school style of football, Rome, what do you think about the style, the identity the Redskins seem to be forming? Do you think this is an identity that's sustainable, or do you think this is something that isn't really fit for 2018?
Well, it's good that we bring that up, because it is 2018, and you look around the league, you got all these passing offenses. You got Pat Mahomes on the Chiefs. You got people scoring 30 points every game damn near. And the Redskins aren't built like that. Alex Smith and our offense probably aren't going to put up 30 points, so we have to rely on that defense. I do think that this style can work in 2018. I think that's really what worked for the Eagles last season when they won the Super Bowl. To me, football, no matter how much it changes, no matter how many nuances and how many rules they want to put to make it more so for the offense, it comes down to the simple saying of defense wins championships. You got to have a run game, and you got to be able to stop the team from scoring. And if you can do that, and there's more than one way to do that, then if you can stop the team from scoring, then you don't have to put up very many points. And I really like the identity of this defense is taken. And DJ Swearinger is leading that identity. He even said on an interview that he doesn't expect much from the offense. They're not expecting the offense to go out and score a bunch of points. They want to make sure that they want to pitch a shutout every game, basically. And, I mean, he's the team's MVP right now, if you really think about it. All these turnovers that he's forcing and keeping the ball out of the other team's hands, keeping them from scoring damn near every time.
Yeah, for sure, man.
If DJ Swearinger can keep this level up, then we can definitely keep this style up.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. And not only team MVP, but he might be looking at an all defensive player of the year bid before the season's up. I mean, the way he's balling right now, if he stays on this track, I mean, we could be looking at 13, 14 picks, 4 or 5 forced fumbles, impact plays every single game. I mean, hey, man, that guy might just be on track to have one of the best defensive seasons we've seen out of a Redskins player in the last 20 years. As far as the identity that the Redskins are finally building, I love it. If you look back into maybe, let's say, the last 15, 20 Super Bowl champions, every few years you have one of those teams that you just didn't expect to win it. Now, maybe not didn't expect to win it, but their style, their offensive style of football is not, it's not the flashiest. I mean, you think back to the Ravens when they won it with Flacco. when Russell Wilson and Marshawn Lynch were spearheading the running attack of the Seahawks to get their first championship. But when you look at those type of teams, it seems like that's kind of what the Redskins are building. Even if you look at the Broncos when they won their championship with Peyton Manning, when their defense was just dominant and all Peyton had to do was just not turn the ball over. I mean, that's a formula for success. And maybe it's not flashy, maybe it's not 400 passing yards a game, but I mean, we had a quarterback doing that last season, and we have a better record than his team does now, and they arguably on paper have a better defense than us. So it's so tough to really say what works in 2018. But if it's working, you don't got to fix what's working. And I do respect Jay Gruden for finding something that works and refusing to fix it. He's going to keep giving the ball to AP. He's going to stick with this style that's got them to 5-2, and I respect that. So I mean, obviously, after any game, we're going to have some injuries. Ron, what you got for us on the injury front, man? What do we have to look forward to heading into next week?
Not too much on the injuries. They didn't release too much, but Trent Williams really is the only one I really wanted to talk about because the thumb. So apparently the thumb injury is going to be a little bit worse than people may have thought. We all know Trent Williams is a dog, plays through any injury. He didn't finish the game on Sunday due to the thumb injury. So obviously it's not something just to sneeze away. So I'm going to keep an eye on that throughout the week. I think they said it might be a pain tolerance thing or it might have actually been dislocated. But the issue is going to be him blocking with the thumb. You need to use your hands and stuff to block and all that. So if he can't use his thumb, he might not be able to go. So that'll definitely be something to keep an eye on throughout the week, and we'll keep you guys updated.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like you said, Trent is a dog. He's been on Iron Man for the past few years. You know, judging off of his history, I would expect him to play this weekend. But if he doesn't, man, I'm definitely happy that we have a guy like Ty Nsekhe who stepped in last week, and it was a pretty seamless transition. Definitely like what I saw from Ty when he stepped into the game. One more injury of note is the young safety Troy Apke, rookie safety from Penn State. He's been placed on IR, so the hamstring problem, he was unable to get past it, and he's now moving to IR. But you know, we definitely got a decent prospect in him for the future, and I do like the slight flashes he showed in preseason and on special teams in his first couple games. So let's keep it pushing, man. Let's keep it pushing. Another big story coming out of Redskins Park was that Scott McCloughan, the former Redskins GM who was fired by the current organization, he lost his grievance against against the Redskins for money that he felt he was still owed on his contract. So, Rome, let's talk about Scott a little bit, man. I know when Scott McCloughan first got to Washington, I was hyped. I felt like we had finally got the GM that we were missing. I felt like we finally had a real GM. Part of it was how he was built around the league and all the respect he got around the league. Another part of it was the program that he came from in the Packers, and I just really had high hopes for him. I mean, he came from the Packers and the Seahawks, two teams that have always, at least the Seahawks were on the verge of really building something great, and the Packers, they've been a modicum of success for years. And I thought we had something special with Scott. It didn't work out. What did you think when we first signed Scott?
Well, when we first signed him, I was a little excited, but I wasn't excited as most people, just because of all the issues that he had when he left those places. A lot was being said about him having drinking issues, and those are serious problems. Those are things that just don't go away. And having a high profile in the NFL, making good money like that, talking to players, and especially when you're in that position when you're scouting them, I'm sure he might have a drink or two here with some players or go out. So I'm like, if you're having issues with doing some of that kind of stuff, or you're having issues with drinking, then maybe this job in particular isn't the best job for you, because it's something that you need to be super focused on all the time and all this. But I was excited because he did have a good track record, but he also had a bad track record as far as the drinking issues, and I feel like that was a part of why they kicked him out. Now I know there was a lot of drama between Bruce Allen. I know a ton of people out there aren't Bruce Allen fans, and I'm not really a Bruce Allen fan either, but Scott McCloughan, I think, had his own issues and demons to deal with, and I think it was best that we parted ways with him. And I honestly don't think we got too much out of those drafts. You want to dive into that and see?
Yeah, let's dive into it. Let's break down some of these Scott McCloughan drafts. So, I mean, obviously as a GM, you are you're characterized by what you do in the draft and what you do in the off season. We know that just from being around the team, we know that Scott McCloughan had a lot less hold on the free agent acquisitions, although he did have a lot of say-so. But the biggest role he had was the draft board in the draft. So in his first draft, he gave us a stud. We got Brandon Sheriff first round. After Brandon Sheriff, man, it's questionable. Second round, we got Preston Smith. He's had his tenure in Washington, what would you call it? How would you characterize Preston so far? I would say he's been good. He showed flashes of brilliance, but he's been inconsistent. Would you agree?
Well, it's tough. So he's in his fourth year now, right, Preston?
Yep.
So he's up for another contract, and it's like he's had his flashes, he's had his moments, like you said, but it's just really tough. I honestly would have to give Preston Smith the rest of the season before I can make a firm decision on that. I would say Preston Smith is kind of indicative of all of Scott McCloughan's entire draft. Really, it's tough to say. It's almost good, but it's not quite good enough. I'm still not sold on Preston, but I think that's a solid pick for a second round pick.
Yeah, so we'll call Preston solid. Matt Jones, I think we can both agree that didn't work out. We keep going down the list. Jamison Crowder. Hey, man, Crowder's been a baller. He's been up and down. This season has been mostly down. Due to injury. Last season was mostly down due to play. But the season before that, Crowder showed that he's got the ability to be one of the best, very best slot receivers in the National Football League. So keeping it moving, we got Ari Kwanjo. Well, I think it's safe to say that didn't work out. Shout out to the local prospect, though. Played in the good old WCAC at DeMatha. Then we got Martrell Spate. Man, I really like Martrell Spate coming out of college, but I think it's safe to say that he hasn't worked out. What do you think about Martrell, Rome?
Nah, he's a solid special teams guy. He could play a little, but that wasn't the best pick. Really, so far, it's just been Crowder and Smith that were solid out of this pick. Matt Jones is a complete bust.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, Kyshawn Jarrett was a baller, man. I got to say that. I think that might have been, considering that he was a sixth-round pick, that might have been the best pick that McCloughan made, definitely in that year. Maybe all together, but man, I don't know if you guys remember what Kyshawn used to bring to the team, but he in the nickel, man, Kyshawn Jarrett was a baller. Like, I feel so bad for the dude with the nerve issues. Hopefully, he's on a full road to recovery. Maybe he'll never play football again, but at least a full recovery, physically and mentally. And man, that dude was a baller, man. That whole situation I'm sad about. But let's keep it moving. Cornerback Tevin Mitchell out of Arkansas, bust. Don't get me wrong, it was a sixth-round pick, but, he's only taken one pick after Kyshawn Jarrett. So Tevin Mitchell was a bust. Evan Spencer, wide receiver out of Ohio State, was a bust. And then Austin Ryder from South Florida, the center, I think he's on the Browns now. He's been bouncing around the league. So, we got three guys out of that draft. We got Brandon Sheriff, we got Preston Smith, and we got Jamison Crowder. So, it was a decent draft in 15, but nothing to really write home about. The next year, we went Josh Doxson, so that's kind of yet to be seen. He's been mostly down during his career, but he still has time to turn around. We got Sua Cravens, and we all know how that went. I'm not going to jump into the Sua Cravens situation. I've dived into that one a lot, but obviously Cravens didn't work out in Washington. Third round, Kendall Fuller. He's no longer on the team. And maybe that was a little bit of a shot at McCloughan, like, we don't need your guy, and now that you're gone, let's get him out of here. But I think Kendall Fuller was a baller. Definitely a great pick in round 3. Was supposed to go higher, but he had a torn meniscus coming out of college. So I think that was a pretty good pick. What do you think about Fuller as a draft pick in the third round?
That was a great pick, man. I was very upset. As much as I said I've loved the Alex Smith trade, and I did love it right when it happened. The only thing that made me upset about it was losing Fuller, because he's a great player. And I know the Chiefs' defense has been horrible, but Fuller's been playing well.
Yeah, for sure. And then after Fuller, he went with Matt Ioannidis. Now this, in my opinion, round 5, pick number 152, this was Scott McCloughan's best pick as the Redskins GM. Matt Ioannidis, this dude is an animal, man. Like, the guy is strong as an ox. You can't push him around. He explodes through offensive linemen. And with the Alabama wall, Deron Payne and John Allen getting all the credit, Matt goes under the radar a little bit, but that's just fine. If he can go under the radar and get me 2.5 sacks, I'll take that every week.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say he's really under the radar. Doesn't he lead the team in sacks with 4 or 5? I think. Yeah, he is a baller, man. Actually, that pick saves that entire draft, man. Looking at the drafts, what would you grade them?
Well, I mean, first, those last 2 picks were Nate Sudfeld and Steven Daniels, 2 players that didn't work out for us. So that first pick, man, I mean, the first draft, the 15 draft with Brandon Sheriff, you know, you get Brandon Sheriff, you get Preston Smith, you get Jamison Crowder and Kyshawn Jarrett. I'll give that draft a solid B. Matter of fact, I'll give it a B+. Nah, let's stick with B. But the next draft, 16, man, that's a C+ draft at best. That was just a bad – I mean, I'm not going to call it a bad draft. Matter of fact, that's a C- now that I think about it. You really get one guy. You get Matt Ioannidis, but everybody else, especially considering that Kendall Fuller is no longer on the team, it's like, man, that draft didn't do too much for us. So hindsight, I would give that draft a C-, and I give his first draft with the Redskins, I give it a B. How about you?
Yeah, man, I was going with a B+ for the 2015 draft, but I love Brandon Sheriff, bro. Like I just think I mean, Preston Smith brings it down a little bit, so I almost want to take the plus off. But Brandon Sheriff, I think, is an all-pro. As much as we were just talking up DJ Swearinger, we could talk up Brandon Sheriff just as much. And 2016, I'm at a C+. Matt Ioannidis brings me up to a C+. So that draft was kind of below average, really.
Yeah, definitely was, man. Definitely was. So, all in all, I think it's safe to say that the Redskins, were they better off for getting rid of Scott McCloughan? Who knows? But did it hurt them getting rid of Scott McCloughan at 5-2? Right now, definitely not. Definitely not. And, I mean, hey, Redskins Nation, I know we love the guy. You know, most people seem to have an affinity for him, but at this point, hindsight's 20/20, and it looks like getting rid of Scott McCloughan was the best thing for the franchise. What do you think about that, Ron?
Yeah, I definitely think it was the best thing to move on. There was a power struggle of some sorts going on. We didn't need any of that drama. That was just a bunch of drama. I'm more than glad that that's over with. And I like the current setup of how things are running, and I think they're doing a good job.
Yeah, I would fully agree, man. So let's keep it pushing, man. Let's jump to the segment 2. Let's go to the NFC East. So with the Redskins playing the Giants, I guess we can start with the Giants, man. We learned a lot about the Giants, and going into the game, I think it was a whole chicken and the egg scenario. Was Eli bad because the O-line was terrible, or was the O-line terrible because Eli was trash? I think we found out that they're both trash. The O-line is bad. I don't think Eli is as bad as his O-line right now. I think if he had time, he would be a lot less shell-shocked. But once you're shook the way he shook, it's kind of done. It's kind of over for you. He's in the pocket. He's panicking. When he takes shots, they're so uncalculated. He's just like I think about the pick he threw to DJ Swearinger. I'm like, wow, that's not the Eli that tortured us for years. What do you think about the Giants? What was your snap reaction about watching that team?
They're terrible, and I'm glad that we have them on the schedule again. So I don't even know if we're going to see Eli the next time that we play the Giants. I really don't. I don't know if we should, really. They might as well put Lilletta in, see what he can do with these guys. If the Giants don't start winning some games, man, I don't even know if I would play Odell much longer or Saquon, really. The Giants have a lot to work on. That was my takeaway from the game.
Yeah, man, I would have to agree with you completely. It looks like they're headed to another top pick. It's rough in New York, man. I would love to see how good Eli is by just watching the Giants trade him away to maybe a team like Jacksonville. Let's see what he can do in Jacksonville. And if he goes there and he's still trash, then we know it was Eli. But if he goes to another team and he starts balling out, then that would be proof in the pudding that Eli isn't as done as maybe I think. I don't think he's all the way done like everyone else does, but it was definitely a rough showing for them against the Skins. So the only other game in the NFC East was the Eagles versus the Jaguars in London. The Jaguars had been known to run London, but the Eagles came in there and handled their business, man. What do you think about that early game?
Yeah, man. The Eagles looked good, man. I still think that they're the team to beat in the NFC East, even though we're balling out right now. They're the Super Bowl champs, and we got to pay them that respect. I think we're gonna get into it either this pod or the next pod about how how the outlook of the Redskins is going to be over these next few games now that we're halfway through the season. But we have a matchup on December 3rd, Monday Night Football against the Eagles, and I think that's our first matchup against the Eagles, and I think that will be the game that determines the champions really in the NFC East. It'll probably come down to that last game too, but I think we'll end up riding it out and being in first up until that game, and the Eagles will either be tied with us or a game behind, and that game will be huge. So mark your calendars for December 3rd.
Yeah, definitely. Both with two games, like Rome mentioned, with two games still remaining between the Redskins and the Eagles, both teams at this moment hold their own fate. So it's gonna be interesting to watch as that race gets down to the wire. We also got the Cowboys on bye week, so I mean not too much to talk about there. It'll still be interesting to see if Amari Cooper comes out and Amari Cooper from his first 2 seasons, or if he's been the Amari Cooper that he's been recently. That'll be interesting to see. So we'll keep an eye on that. But there's not too much to talk about on that front. But the Cowboys did fire their O-line coach, so I guess that's a snap reaction to Dak getting sacked all those times.
Yeah, man. I think they're putting a lot of pressure on Dak, man. I think they're going to evaluate him, see if he's the QB of the future or not. And personally, I would say not. What do you think about Dak? Do you think he's a franchise quarterback?
Nah, I wouldn't say franchise. I wouldn't give him the money that he's probably going to make this offseason. I would not give that to him. If we're talking about 16, 17, yeah, I'll give that to Dak. But we're talking about 24, 25 million. You got to be a guy that can carry the team, that can rise above the bull. You know, no matter what happens to Aaron Rodgers, he rises above and he makes sure his team's in position. That's a $24 million quarterback. You know what I mean? And don't get me wrong, everyone can't be Aaron, but if I'm a Cowboys fan, I would not want to see us re-sign Dak. And as a Redskins fan, I hope they do re-sign Dak because that'll bode well for us going forward.
Yeah, I would love
but
that.
But then again, with that said, though, when you use Dak right, when you use Dak right, man, he's a problem. So I don't know. Even with all that I just said, if they had a coaching staff that would come in and use Dak the right way and convince Dak on who he actually is, then we could be talking about it. We could be talking about something totally different. But as it is now, trying to turn him into a pocket passer, I love to see it.
I mean, Dak can definitely play. I don't want to sound like I'm throwing too much shade on Dak, but what scares me in Dallas is Zeke, man. And if we can keep stopping Zeke, then I feel good with Dak trying to throw it against DJ and Josh Norman and them boys, man. So even with Amari Cooper on that team. But we'll see what happens down in Dallas on Thanksgiving. That's another game I'm hyped for.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be a classic. I honestly, I'm predicting a blowout for that one, but that's an early judgment. So let's jump back into the Redskins Giants game, man. Let's get into our studs and our duds from that game, man. Ron, who you got for your studs from that game?
For my studs, I'm gonna go with Josh Doctson and Matt Ioannidis. I've been a Josh Doctson hater, if you will, because I've been a little critical of him. But I think he's finally starting to come along, man, and be what we need him to be, and that is a possession receiver. Each week, man, leading up to this game, he's starting to do better and better on those slant routes and those skinny posts. And I'm loving what I'm seeing. I think there was one play against the Giants where Janoris Jenkins got a illegal contact and a pass interference call, and Josh Doctson still caught the ball for like 15, 14 yards. So that's what we need from him, man. We need him to be a big body receiver, completely body guys out. Janoris Jenkins is a baller, by the way. He is a top corner. I didn't expect Josh Doctson to make many plays against him at all. So I got to give Josh Doctson some love. And I got to give Matt Ioannidis some love, man. Like I mentioned earlier, he's leading the team in sacks. Came out, had another 2.5 in this game. And my big man is hitting that floss dance, and he's hitting it well. So I got to show some love on that front, too. Shout out to Matt Ioannidis, man. Yeah, man, he like you were saying earlier, he's just the biggest part of that Alabama wall. He just doesn't get as much shine. Yeah, man, that's surely that dude, man. Let me jump into my studs. I've got a few, and for different reasons. First stud, man, I got AP. For all the reasons we spoke about at the beginning of the pod, man. AP has defeated and maybe the first man to defeat Father Time. Let's knock on wood for that one. All right, cool. But yeah, so AP has seemed to defeat Father Time. Hopefully it keeps pushing in that direction. My second stud is Deron Payne.
In the last 4 weeks, if you look at these names that the Skins have played, we've got Christian McCaffrey, we've got Saquon Barkley, we've got Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, these are big names. These are big names, and combined are under 100 yards from the Redskins D-line. One of the big reasons for that is Daron Payne. He's not getting the sacks, although he did have one. He's never going to have huge sack numbers. If he gets you 5 or 6 a year, that's a great season. But if you watch what that dude is doing in the trenches, it's unreal for a rookie to be able to handle these grown men offensive linemen the way he's handling them. He's pushing them around. He's throwing them around. And, like, oh, man, I'm so excited for the just for the potential, because right now he's still raw, and you just think what Daron Payne could be in 2 or 3 years. Man, we could really be looking at one of the best, if not the best, interior D linemen in the league, and I love to see that. And my last stud, and although he's had some rough patches, and he had another one in this game, but I got to shout out the boy Greg Stroman. I was hard on him. I was really hard on Greg Stroman after the Saints. I've been hard on Greg Stroman this whole season, to be honest. He's a rookie, and I shouldn't be that hard on him. But at the end of the day, it's a next man up mentality. If you're a rookie or not, you got to step in. You got to ball out. And Greg Stroman did that against the Giants. I'm going to highlight one specific play where Sterling Shepard, man, Eli threw a beautiful deep ball to Sterling Shepard in stride. Sterling Shepard caught it with his hands. It seemed to be a good catch. He went to tuck the ball away. It seemed that if he wasn't going to score it, it was clearly a field position flipping play. And, man, Stroman came in there with the strongest swat I've seen from a guy his size and just swatched the ball out of Shepard's hand almost effortlessly, almost just like he knew that was the play to be made. It's just like I was very impressed with Greg Stroman on that play. Despite him getting beat a lot this season, he always bounces back and plays with that chip on the shoulder, and I love to see it. I really love to see it. So shout out to Greg Stroman, kid out of V-Tech. Let's jump into some duds, man. I'll go ahead and jump into my dud first. The only dud I got, I mean, I could pull a couple, but I'm going with Monte Nicholson this week. There were just a couple plays on that back end where I'm just like, wow, if Eli just makes a slightly better throw, or if the receiver just adjusts slightly better, even if he had a terrible pass interference, Monte Nicholson has not been as good at center field as he was last season. At least he's not making as many plays. I'm really going to have to take a look at the All-22 and see how he's doing in coverage. But when I'm watching the games, he's standing out. And whenever there's a deep pass, he's not there. He's not I shouldn't say whenever, but he really hasn't been there in time. I need some of those picks from Monte. I need to see some of that Monte from last season. I need him playing with his head on fire. And I think he will going forward. I'm not too worried about him, but he gets my dud. He gets my dud for this week.
For my dud this week, I'm going to go with Alex Smith, man. So I was for my bold prediction going into this game, I had him throwing 4 touchdown passes because, the Giants, so they traded Eli Apple, and B.W. Webb was out there playing a lot more, a couple other guys, but that was not so, man. This passing game has looked pitiful. I've been putting some of the blame on Jay Gruden, but I gotta go ahead and put some of the blame on Alex Smith this time around because he's missing throws that he needs to be making, man. There's been some open guys that he's got to hit. He still hasn't found any chemistry with Jordan Reed, and I think that's my biggest dud. Reed's been racking up some catches for a few yards, but it seems like they're just hitting each other on like some quick outs, maybe a little curl route every now and again. But they need to be able to find a deep connection on some deep plays or something. Alex Smith has to just play better. Like I need better from Alex Smith. The Redskins need better from Alex Smith, and I think they need better from him this week because as well as his defense has been playing, we cannot expect them to hold everyone under 20 points, and I don't expect to hold the Falcons under 20 points. I think the Redskins are going to need to score around 24, 28 points to win this upcoming game. So Alex Smith is going to have to play a lot better. So he gets my dud for this Giants game.
Yeah, man, I would agree with that. If it wasn't Monte, it was definitely Alex for me too. So let's keep it pushing, man. Let's jump to around the league. One thing I want to talk about briefly, especially with Alex, man, you mentioned it. He's not hitting receivers. He's not taking the deep shots. Rome, do you think that that's a product of Alex not hitting guys, or do you think that's a product of our receiving core being weak? And if so, are there any of these guys that are on the market right now around the league that you would take a look at from the receiver position?
Well, I think it's a product of the receivers, not really. As far as the deep ball, I think it's a product of the receivers. Our fastest guy, our deep threat, has a knee injury and a shoulder injury. It's Paul Richardson. Then the next fastest guy that we might think about having deep hasn't been playing. That's Jamison Crowder. Jay Gruden likes Mo Harris in the slot, and I think Mo Harris is a good player, but he's not running by anybody. Michael Floyd, he's not running by anybody at this point. So as far as getting someone deep, that's going to come with the scheme, which is why I've been putting so much on Jay Gruden. You're going to have to scheme somebody open in that sort of way. But even with a healthy Paul Richardson and with Jamison Crowder back on the field, Jordan Reed's the best pass option, and Gruden's got to scheme a way for him to get open, or Alex Smith has to get so comfortable and trusting with Reed that he just knows, hey, this is where you're going to be. I'm going to put the ball here. No one else is going to get it. Only you can get it. So something's got to happen with Smith and Reed. Reed, Smith, and Gruden, they need to have like a personal meeting. But as far as anybody who's on the market, the first person that comes to mind is Deshaun Jackson because he recently asked for a trade. So I would personally love to see Deshaun Jackson come back to the Redskins, and I think that obviously gives you a huge deep threat to open up the field.
Yeah, man. Deshaun's still been doing his thing. He's still been getting behind defensive backs. And I agree with you, man. I don't think we need a little more electricity in that wide receiver core. A couple notable names that are on the block. You got Golden Tate. You've got Devontae Parker. And one more guy who's actually, you can take his name officially off the block, is Demaryius Thomas. He's been traded to the Houston Texans.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess that was their reaction to losing Kendall Fuller for the season. So a big pickup for the Texans. So let's continue around the league, man. Hugh Jackson was fired from the Cleveland Browns after only winning about 2 games out of his 40. No, he won 3. He won 3 games out of his 40 during his tenure in Cleveland. But 2 of those games came this year, and you got to say that it seemed like, I mean, just being honest, it seemed like if they were close to turning the corner. You know, you could tell this season that the Browns, they were far more competitive than they've ever been, and all their games were wildly entertaining. You know, everything came down to the wire. Apparently, GM John Dorsey wasn't truly sold on Hugh Jackson, but the owners loved him, so they afforded him 1 more year, and now he's out. What do you think? Do you think that was a deserved firing, Rome?
Absolutely. He should have already been fired. I don't know. He didn't deserve this season. I mean, let's all just be honest. This doesn't even have to apply to just football. It could apply to any sport. Really, it could apply to any job. Hugh Jackson, as a head coach, your job is to win. That's what your job is. It's to coach the team and win games. He won 1 game in 2 seasons. How did he still have the job going into this season? There's nothing that justified him having the job going into this season. Nothing at all. There's no, we're going in the right direction, or there's this positive thing, there's that positive thing. I mean, it was a joke. And in my opinion, I think the Cleveland Browns kind of just enjoy being a joke because they've never been good for my entire life. I just turned 29 the other day, like I mentioned, and the Cleveland Browns have yet to be good at all. And I truly mean that. If Hugh Jackson was jumping into the lake on Hard Knocks and stuff, I mean, I just view the Browns as a joke. And until that organization gets it together, I don't even feel like that's rude to say.
Yeah, man. I mean, I would probably give Hugh just a little more time just based off the fact how competitive they were this season. But I do agree with you that he should have never had the job going into this year. Once you give him that start this season, and he shows that he's got the team playing decent. You can let him keep riding. But I do understand the move, and I guess based off his history, his entire record is deserved. He didn't do enough. So let's segue into the biggest surprises and disappointments so far this season, or it can be either or. I know that for me personally. Well, let's have you jump in, Rome. What do you think, man? Who's your biggest surprise or your biggest disappointment so far in the NFL season?
My biggest surprise / disappointment, you can kind of say both is the Jaguars. They're surprisingly disappointing this season. Well, it's not too much of a surprise because I've never believed in Blake Bortles, but I thought the defense would play a lot better. It just goes to show you, man, like Jalen Ramsey, you can't talk that much, bro. Like from the cornerback position, you don't affect enough of the game to where even if you're playing well, which he's not playing that great, you don't expect enough of the game to talk that much trash. And let's be honest, when you talk that much trash from the cornerback position, you're already on an island, so you're just putting the spotlight on that island. So now everyone's trying to pick on Jalen. They're throwing the ball at him. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jalen Ramsey's still one of the top corners, but he's not having one of the top seasons. So that's disappointing, and Jacksonville overall has been disappointing. But who do you got?
Well, for my biggest surprise / disappointment, man, I went with our impending matchup in the Atlanta Falcons. Before the season started, man, I predicted the Falcons to win the NFC South. Looks like a bad prediction so far. I really thought they were going to have a return to maybe not dominance, but at least return to what they once were when they made the Super Bowl run. Maybe not even the Super Bowl run, but I thought they were going to have a good season. The only thing that stayed true to my prediction is that Matt Ryan seems to be back to a closer to MVP level, which I like to see because Matt Ryan, to me, he's been one of the better quarterbacks over the last few years. So it seems like he's risen his level, but the rest of the team around him just hasn't. The biggest thing for the Falcons is, I mean, if you look at their record on the road in the past few seasons, it makes you think that maybe a dome is not a smart thing to have in football. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool. It's cool to have, you know what I mean? But, like, if you get used to just playing in that dome and being so comfortable, you go out in those outside cold weather games, and it's like you don't know what to do. Right now, the Falcons are 0-2 on the road. Hopefully that continues with them coming to Washington. But, yeah, I'd have to say the Falcons. I truly expected them to be atop the NFC right now, and they're third in their division outside looking in.
Yeah, well, I think you weren't wrong in your early prediction, man, about the Falcons. A lot of people are kind of off the Falcons. I'm still very fearful of that team. Like you were saying, Matt Ryan is playing at an MVP level right now. They got Calvin Ridley. Julio Jones he don't score touchdowns, but he catches a lot of damn passes. I mean, Sanu is out there. Devontae Freeman, I believe, is still injured, but he's going to come back at some point this season. And they still got Tevin Coleman. Even their tight end Hooper, man, he's not bad. So I know they got some injuries on defense. I think Deion Jones is also going to come back at some point. So this Falcons team, man, they started off slow, and they're not looking too good right now. The Saints probably going to end up winning that division still. But Atlanta could still sneak into the playoffs, and I think they could be very dangerous still.
Yeah. I mean, that would be something to keep an eye on, see how they move. I think this game, at 3-4, with the way their division's looking, you might be able to call this a must-win for the Falcons. So the Skins are definitely going to have to match that intensity. We'll definitely be back with a preview pod for that game upcoming. Let's jump into some final thoughts, Rome. What you got for us, man?
Well, a little bit of breaking news, man. We were talking about the Giants. I was mentioning they need to start Kyle Lauletta. It looks like he was arrested on his way to practice today for some type of traffic violation. So it looks like things are getting worse for New York.
Oh, man. Well, I can't say that I'm upset to hear that. Personally, I got the same hate for all three NFC East teams. I know some guys, like, they hate the Cowboys more. If maybe you live up north and you're a Skins fan, you might hate the Eagles a little more. But me, my hate for the NFC East, it's even across the board. I hate them all equally and all fully. I hate all three of them. So I love to see that. I love to see that. So, hey, going forward, man, hopefully, the Skins take this 3-game winning streak as a stepping stone and continue to play with the mentality that they haven't made it. Continue to take it one game at a time like Jonathan Allen has echoed over these past few weeks and, continue to play with that chip on their shoulder, you know what I mean? And with the identities they're building, I really, truly think they're going to be in every game. And we shouldn't be seeing any more Saints blowouts like we did earlier this season. I think we found our identity, and let's just hope we can stick to it.
Yeah, man. I think that Saints loss was almost necessary to push us where we need to be. But yeah, we'll talk more about that, man. We're gonna do some work. We got some pods coming for you guys, so stay tuned.
Absolutely, stay tuned. So for Hell to the Culture, Bryce and Rome, signing out.
Free world. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Yeah. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so weak. Yeah. My hitters be moving and shaking to stay out the streets. Your hitters be hating, your hitters be looking so. Snuff the shoulder, snuff the loader, snuff the boots, and snuff the money moving.